Good to be with you on this Tuesday morning, the first day of the month of April. It is April Fool's, but no fooling here. It's an election day in the state of Mississippi. The Secretary of State, Michael Watson, joins us this morning. Municipal elections happening all across the state of Mississippi. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, my friend. I hope all of our Mississippians who live in cities have done their homework and are getting ready to go vote if they haven't already. So excited about this beautiful election day.
Yeah, you worry about weather on election day sometimes, especially we talk about that in November. It's not a great forecast. It may hinder turnout. I don't think we've got any excuses from a weather standpoint. Absolutely gorgeous all over the state. And you really hope, I know this is something that you have been preaching any opportunity you've had, that people are engaged in their local elections, because local politics are certainly as important as national politics in our daily lives, but arguably more so.
Yeah, I would say more so in daily lives. Look, you think about your policemen, your firemen, you think about your garbage collection, you think about your water and sewer, the things that impact your life every single day. Those are decisions that are made at the local level. Now, yeah, does the state impact us? Does the Fed impact us? Of course. But on an everyday basis, I think municipal elections are so very important, because that's your life. That's your family, your neighbors. It's going to impact them all the time. So it's important that we make sure we do our research on the candidates, what they're talking about, what they've done, their careers, and are they ready to serve us? And I think that's what Mississippians should deserve. Folks that want to serve, that aren't here to make a name for themselves, but are here to do something good for the communities.
So when we have a national election, or in the off 2 years when we have a gubernatorial election, you've got a lot of historical data to look at to kind of gauge turnout and maybe even predict turnout a little bit. How do you do that with municipal elections?
It's hard, Richard, especially following an election as big as last year was for the future of our country. Folks get a little bit of fatigue, I think. They hear all the commercials and they see all the signs, and I hope that it doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it does sometimes. But again, just turning the focus back to the municipal elections and how important they are. That's what we've tried to do. We've got our Elections 101 campaign and other efforts that we make to really educate Mississippians on the process, not just the process, but the importance of every level of elections and why they matter. Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, we get a little bit tired of elections, and then, oh my gosh, we got another one. But this is one that's really, really important, and we say that every time because they are. Elections matter. It's the folks that you're hiring to do a job for you, and if they're not doing a good job, then send them home. And I think that's the part where people forget about the accountability that comes with elections.
Why do we have municipal elections, primaries in April, and then general? When is the general? June? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a legislative, set with the statute. So back when they designed it, I'm not exactly sure what the thinking was. I know the budget issue is one with local municipalities, and when they got to have their budgets in. So getting them in office prior to budget time is one of the issues. I'm not exactly sure the others that went into that thinking, but obviously it's a legislative prerogative.
Is that something that if you found yourself at some point in the future in a different position, a position of power, that you would look at where you think it would make more sense perhaps to move our municipal elections to November to help with the turnout conversation we're having?
I don't think you take anything off the table of what to look at, Richard. I think that's an important part of leadership. Can we do things better? Let's take a look. How do we do things better? And when it comes to elections, let's talk to our city officials. Let's talk to our county officials, our legislators, everybody from the bottom up to see what's best. And if the current schedule works the best for them, then so be it. If not, if we can do something a little bit better, so be it. We've had our congressional members come to us talking about moving their primaries up. So that's an issue that's in the legislature right now. So it happens with listening to the folks that are impacted. And, most importantly, that's the voters. So today is their day to make sure that they can tell whether or not they've been listened to. And if they've not been listened to, then they can send folks home. So, again, big election day today.
I heard you chuckle as I asked that question. Was there something I said that was funny?
No, dropping the kids off at school today, so the girls were cutting up in the back.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. Visiting with Secretary of State Michael Watson. There are so many of these across the state, and so I hesitate to ask this because of singling out. But you're aware of what's going on, where there are big mayoral races, where there are big city council or alderman races. Are there any that kind of pop off the page to you that you've heard more about than maybe in other places?
Yeah, I heard a lot about, obviously, Jackson. Richard, it's so important that we have a great capital city. So I hope the city of Jackson and all the citizens of Jackson have paid attention to the last few years and decide, you know what, this is probably not the direction that's best for us nor the states. Let's go make a change. You look at Gulfport. You look at, it's a big city on the coast. Billy Hughes, a great friend of mine, is stepping out, and we've got a new mayor coming in down there. All over the place. I could name a bunch of them. And by the way, Richard, I think it's also important for folks to know we also see hot spots sometimes where people say, you know what, I've got something going on in this election. I want to make sure the Secretary of State's here. So we get calls. So we'll have a baker's dozen or so folks out today in different cities watching these elections, making sure that people aren't trying to subvert the will of the people nor break election laws. So just a warning to those who are out there that want to maybe do something that's not legal in elections. You're being watched. And I think that's an important part of election integrity. It's not just talking about it. It's being in the precinct and enforcing it.
I know it's something that we have discussed a lot with JT Mitchell, our news director. He has kind of run down this is who's qualified to vote. This is how you do it. But just give us kind of the standard Election Day 101, what people need to know as they go to vote in their local municipal elections.
Yeah, most importantly, take your ID. Number one. I think that's so important and something that Mississippi has been really successful with implementing voter ID. Back in the legislature when we voted that in after the initiative referendum ran. The Secretary of State's office back there, your husband, did a great job of implementing it. So that's been a really success and a credit to the legislature as well as the former Secretary of State of getting that done. So that's a big deal. Make sure you've done your research. Make sure that you have, taken a look at, hey, look at my ward when it comes to a city, my district. What's changed? Is it better? Is it worse? And then, if you're not sure where you go vote, we've got some cities this year that have combined their locations for their precincts. Moss Point, for instance, everyone's going to vote at Pelican Landing. So you've got some cities, Oxford. I know Oxford votes at the Convention Center. Don't let me mess people up there. But these combined locations. So if you've got questions about where you go vote, number one, call your city clerk. Number two, if they're not answering, call our office. We'll make sure that you get to the right place. And we've got our My Election Day tool up on our website. So lots of information out there. But I just encourage people, again, do your research and hold people accountable on Election Day.
I'm curious if you have seen an evolution over the last decade and a half. And I think this is germane when we talk about municipal elections because historically, Mississippi was a state that had more Democrats than Republicans in public office. And there were lots and lots of people that over time, even if their political leanings shifted, maybe from Democrat to Republican, they continued to run as Democrats because there was this belief that you can't win in a local election unless you had a D next to your name. Have you seen that shift over the time that you've been in public office?
I have. I think there are limited instances where you'll see somebody run as an independent, where, there's still kind of that party sway back and forth. So let me get in the middle and see if I can track both. But I'll tell you, in a bigger conversation, Richard, and this would probably be another topic one day, but just because somebody switches parties doesn't necessarily mean they switch their views. They sometimes switch parties to make sure they get elected again. So I think as voters, again, that's where it comes into watching how people vote. Just because they tell you they're a Republican or they're a Democrat or they're conservative or they're liberal, go watch their voting pattern. And that's what's going to tell you what you need to know. So let's not get comfortable just because somebody says R or D. Let's look at how they vote and look at their record.
So a title does not necessarily equal an ideology.
Unfortunately, I think we see that far too often. There was matter of fact, Frank Corder put a post up the other day. He was talking about how people always talk about how red Mississippi is, how conservative Mississippi is. And you look at things like, let's say, parental choice in education. the Tebow bill, for instance. I mean, school districts didn't even have to do that, but we couldn't get it passed. You know, that's a conservative, just a bedrock issue that should be really easy for supermajority-led Republican House and Senate. But look, I could dig more, but I thought the list was pretty good that he had put out there. And just it goes to show, just because somebody says there are and we've got a supermajority doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get pure conservative policies moving forward.
Michael Watson, Secretary of State, Election Day. If you have any issues, the website to go to your office, give it to me one more time.
Yes, sos.ms.gov. And please do your best today to make sure you keep your eyes open. If you see something that looks a little bit off, let us know. I think election integrity is so incredibly important to our state. So if you see something that's a little bit off, we want to know about it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.